Hey, it's Scar here, and today I'm here to rank the mainline Sonic games that I have played. Yes, believe it or not, I call myself a Sonic fan, but have not played every mainline Sonic game. There are plenty of them I have yet to play, but today I wanted to rank the ones that I have played, using this video as a starting point of sorts. My hope is to play all the mainline games and hopefully make videos on the ones that I find interesting. Then come back and rank every mainline game. Maybe my opinion on some of these games will change by then, or maybe not. And remember, this is just my opinion. I will be taking into account everything from these games, including the soundtrack, which you already know most of these have a banger of a soundtrack, gameplay, the different zones in the game, and just my overall enjoyment of the game. And I'm not sure what's counted as mainline or not. Some people may consider Superstars mainline. I've seen a video or two that counts Shadow the Hedgehog as mainline, which I don't, but okay. If your list is different than mine and you want to let me know it, put it in the comments. I am curious as to what the general consensus is on these games. Anyways, let's start with number 9, Sonic 1. The one that started it all, and man does it feel like it. This was not my first Sonic game, so going back to play this one was a bit jarring for me. It lacks some of the features of the newer Sonic games, like being able to go supersonic, a spin dash, unless you're playing the Origins version, and to top it off, it has some of the most meh zones in all of Sonic. Obviously, it has Green Hill Zone, which is a great start to this franchise, but it also has Labyrinth Zone, Scrap Brain Zone, and the special stages in this game are definitely a strong contender for the worst in the series, in my opinion. Alright, here we— what the— The way you access them is by collecting 50 rings, getting to the end of the stage, and entering the giant ring at the end. But you can only do this during Acts 1 and 2. Not 3, since it's a boss act, which is fine enough for this game, but in hindsight, there are games after this one that drastically improve on this formula. And the special stages themselves? Oh man, they are probably my least favorite, with the consistently rotating stage and the lack of control over Sonic during said stage. It certainly feels like there's more luck than skill involved with these, I'd say. The reward is the Chaos Emerald at the middle of the stage, which typically does not give you any actual reward. Collecting all of them just gets you the good ending of the game. The bosses are kind of just alright overall also. I'd say there really isn't a standout boss in this game, but maybe the Egg Wrecker, since it's iconic? I don't know. But if I had to choose a favorite zone of mine, it has to go to Green Hill Zone. Not only is it a classic zone, but it's a well-designed one too. Overall, Sonic 1 is a good starting point for the series, but it is nothing outstanding in my opinion. If you are interested in getting into the Sonic games, definitely start with this one, because it's only up from here, or down depending which games we are talking about. But I don't know, man, this series is a roller coaster of emotions. Number 8, Sonic Colors. I'd say Sonic Colors is a very confusing Sonic game to me. On one hand, I love the aesthetic, the music, the gameplay for the most part, but on the other hand, it's a very safe Sonic game. Not bad by any means, but one that plays it very safe, which makes sense since it was on the Wii, and it came out after Sonic Unleashed, which was hated at the time. But I'd assume with the limitations of the Wii, the gameplay is not the fastest or the most complex in the series. The introduction of the Wisps in this game are used better than I would have expected, and they should have stayed in this game and not carried over to other Sonic games in the future.
Check that out. I like that.
Have a extraordinary day.
That's a funny little character. I like that.
But my biggest complaint, and one that many others have, is the writing. This game started the era of the Saturday morning cartoon type writing the series had for a while. From the characters constantly spewing one-liners during the game's cutscenes,
I am going to save this planet, and I am going to free these aliens. No copyright law in the universe is going to stop me.
to making the characters less smart than they typically were. Like the fact that Sonic and Tails believe that Eggman actually has some remorse for his past actions is a bit weird, but that's whatever. I really like the environments in this game, and the music complements them all so well, man. It's beautiful. I do agree with most people on the fact that this is a 3D Sonic game that has a lot, and I mean a lot, of 2D sections. The bosses in this game are pretty easy for the most part, I'd say. I mean, you can literally kill the first boss in one shot, so I'd say that's a pretty good start for the first boss. Terminal Velocity was probably the biggest surprise for me, with how the game has a slight difficulty spike during this level, and it's definitely one of my favorites. I want to mention how it was surprisingly difficult to get an S rank on the stages in this game. It actually makes you use everything at your disposal in order to achieve the S ranks, which is something I wish more Sonic games would do. Overall, I'd say Sonic Colors is a solid enough Sonic game. It's nothing too outstanding, but it's one I do still enjoy from time to time, even if the gameplay isn't the strongest in the series. If I had to choose a favorite zone in the game, I'd probably go with Planet Wisp. It's definitely the most beautiful zone in the game, and the music just complements it so perfectly. Number 7. Sonic 2. This game is most definitely one of the most impactful games in the series, I'd say. It was the introduction of Tails, the iconic chemical plant zone, reworked how you can access special stages, and most importantly, it was the introduction of Super Sonic. When it comes to the stages in this game, I'd say there isn't a single miss. Besides maybe Oil Ocean, I'm not the hugest fan of it. And also that one zone I'm not going to name, but if you've played the game, you know which one I'm talking about. Fuck that level. But hey, at least the way you access special stages has been reworked, so I can say they're a lot better in this game. The fact that you get multiple opportunities in just one stage to access the special stages is a great idea, and actually rewards the player for exploring the levels and trying to find them. The special stages themselves are a bit confusing to me. A part of me really likes the stages and find them to be a vast improvement over the first games. But man, when these stages get hard, they get really hard. Is it a skill issue? Yeah, probably. But when I hit one set of bombs and proceed to get wombo comboed into even more bombs and I lose all of my rings, it kind of sucks. But overall, I'd say these special stages are a huge improvement over the first games. And now you have to collect 7 Chaos Emeralds instead of 6. Huge changes, I know. Overall, Sonic 2 is a great Sonic game, but I feel like there's not too much to discuss with this game because it's just overall a good Sonic game. There's not really any huge flaws that I can think of. Oh, I forgot to mention, but in the final zone, I love how you start with 0 rings, meaning you can't get hit once. I hadn't looked up anything before playing the game, so it was a bit of a surprise to see that you had to beat both bosses without getting hit once. If I had to choose a favorite zone for this game, it would go to Chemical Plant Zone. I mean, it's not only designed super well, but I think it looks great, it has a banger of a soundtrack, and it's a great stage to just hop in and play every once in a while. Number 6. Sonic Frontiers. This is the newest mainline Sonic game to come out, unless you count Superstars. Anyways, this is one that I'd been looking forward to ever since I had seen that Sonic CD intro. I was hoping this game would fulfill that freedom that I was looking for, to be able to roll around at the speed of sound. And did it fulfill that itch that I was hoping it would? Kinda. While I enjoyed my time with this game a lot, it's definitely not perfect. There is some things that a sequel could improve on that I did not like about this game. The collision is very hit and miss. Some terrain you could go up how you'd expect to be able to, but others you can't, like the volcano on Chaos Island. The fact that they reused assets from other Sonic games in cyberspace, such as Green Hill, Chemical Plant, and Sky Sanctuary, is not my favorite, especially when the original stuff for this game looks so cool, especially some of the DLC stages we got. I overall enjoy the islands that we have in this game, but the fact that Kronos and Oronos look nearly identical is slightly upsetting. Oh yeah, and Rhea Island if you count that as its own island. So I'd hope to get more Sonic-like environments if we do get a sequel to Sonic Frontiers in the same style as this game. Although this is the first truly open world Sonic game, I really do hope Sonic Team sticks with this formula and further improves on it. I know people say this with almost every Sonic game, but I do think this is a step in the right direction for the series, and if everything were to be improved in the sequel, it very well could be the best Sonic game of all time. At least I think so. Although there are things I dislike about this game, there's things that I really like about this game, such as the Titan fights, minus the last one. But man, I really hadn't been spoiled on this game at all when it was coming out, besides the fact that Sonic goes super in the game. But I remember getting to Giganto and hearing Undefeatable play for the first time, and it gave me chills hearing it play. It was also an unforgettable experience, and that's not even mentioning Wyvern and Knight, which are equally as good. I'm telling you, the fight themes in this game for the Titans are S-tier Sonic songs, and I hope we continue to get songs this good in every Sonic game going forward. I like the cyberspace stages overall, but I do wish the time requirements to get the best rank were a bit harder, like 1-2. Man, I was stuck on that one for such a long time, and I felt so satisfied when I beat it. Also, the DLC stages are great. They actually give you more objectives in the stage rather than just a time goal and collect the red rings, which I really enjoyed. And it made me replay those stages a lot more than I thought I would. So hopefully in the future we get more of those kinds of levels. As always, the music in this game slaps so hard, with my favorite tracks being Undefeatable, Flowing, and Find Your Flame. If I had to choose a favorite cyberspace level, it would go to 1-2, as I had mentioned before. And my favorite island has to go to Kronos. Oh, I forgot to mention, but also fix the damn pop-in with the sequel. Nobody wants that shit. Number 5. Sonic 3. Sonic 3 is a complicated game for me. Although I really do like this game for what it does, like being the first Sonic game to really have an in-game story. I don't know what it is, but I don't seem to like it as much as everyone else seems to. I enjoy probably like half the zones in this game, and the other half range from meh to I don't want to play this anymore, please help me. I also don't think doing my first full playthrough of the game on the Origins version helped me all that much. I really enjoyed having the drop dash in this version of the game, but man, the soundtrack changes are something else, man. but I really enjoy the special stages in this game, and there's a reason why they brought them back in Sonic Mania, because they're good. I will say the best thing about the Origins version of this game is that you could retry the special stages if you fail them, because if you're trying to get Hypersonic and you fail multiple stages in a row, or just can't find the rings to enter said stages, it is the most stressful thing trying to get them done before the end of the game. I love the stage transitions in this game. Seeing Angel Island be completely fine in the first act, then go up in flames in the second is really cool. And I'm glad they introduced them, and they are still being used in some Sonic games to this day. I do think I need to go back at some point and play Knuckles' story, because I've heard it's at least slightly different. But from what I played, I enjoyed Sonic 3, but I did not love it. My favorite zone would probably go to Angel Island zone. In conclusion, play Sonic 3 Air instead. Number 4. Sonic Generations. Oh man, this game is one that I find to be really conflicting for me. I love the gameplay. This is the boost formula at nearly its best, but the story is non-existent, and the little that is here is very generic. But I think the gameplay is so good that it makes up for it. I know with Sonic Frontiers I complained about the reuse of assets from Green Hill Zone to Chemical Plant, but this game actually is excused from it due to it being a celebration of the series as a whole. I don't think there's a single stage I hate in this game, which speaks volumes to its quality, except you. I love both gameplay styles, the first being classic 2D Sonic games that we know and love, and the physics aren't perfect on classic Sonic, but they are close to being perfect. While modern Sonic is nearly perfected in this game, I'm so glad they have the boost button and the homing attack button on separate buttons, unlike Unleashed, which has them both binded to the same button, which I find to be very confusing. And although I love the stages for this game, I haven't even mentioned the mods yet. This game has to be the most supported Sonic game in terms of mods, from skin mods to level mods, and even adding the Unleashed daytime stages into the game. It really does have it all. Although the story is lacking, I think the gameplay is great for a boost title like this one, and the 2D stuff is equally as good, so that's why I put it in my number 3 spot. It's very hard to choose a favorite stage in this game, because most of them are 10 out of 10s in my opinion, but I'd probably have to give it to City Escape. Number 3. Sonic Mania. This is the game that started it all for me. Had I played other Sonic games up to this point? Yes, but I always thought they were kind of fine, nothing special really. RQST. Real quick story time. So even when I played Mania at first, I thought it was good, but nothing more, and I never ended up finishing it. I don't know why, but I ended up watching the first Sonic movie in theaters, and I enjoyed it, which led to me ending up replaying Sonic Mania again, and I don't know why, but this time everything just clicked. I was like, oh my god, I get it. I love the gameplay, I love the graphics, love the stages, and I especially love the music. I think the music was the main thing that drew me into this game and made me love it so much. Let me tell you, T. Lopes killed it with this soundtrack. Not even a single miss when it comes to this OST. But if I had to give my top 3 songs on the soundtrack, they'd be Chemical Plant Act 2, Stardust Speedway Act 2, and Metallic Madness Act 1. I'd say the only weak thing about this game is the fact that the story is almost non-existent. It's a tie-in for Sonic Forces, so I get there's not too much Christian Whitehead and this team could have done. I know some people have complained about the reuse of zones in this game, but honestly, the second acts of each of the reused ones are so unique that I never found it to be an issue, and they switch up the gameplay enough for me to still enjoy them when compared to the originals. Although there isn't much, the new zones that we got are amazingly designed. Bosses are something that I really like about this game also. The addition of the hard-boiled heavies are great. I'd say the one that stands out the most is the one in Press Garden. The Mean Bean Machine boss was also a great surprise. I haven't even mentioned the special stages. They're the best in the series for sure. Not only do they look beautiful, they also feel good to play, and are the good kind of challenging where it actually takes skill to win and not luck. They're like the Sonic CD special stages, but good. My favorite zone honestly would go to Metallic Madness. I don't know if that's a controversial opinion, but the aesthetic, the music, and the stage mechanics just make it my favorite zone in the game. In conclusion, Sonic Mania is a goated Sonic game. I even owned it on 3 platforms. That's how you know I love the game. This isn't a flex, it's a cry for help. Number 2. Sonic CD. I know what you're thinking, but just hear me out. Sonic CD is such a good game. Is it necessarily the best Sonic game? Definitely not. But man, I think the charm of this game is enough to carry it for me. It's not a traditional Sonic game, which some people may not like, but personally, I really do like the exploration aspect of this game, even if sometimes it makes no sense. I do think the definitive way of playing this game is to look for the time machines in each level, instead of getting to the special stages and doing those. RQST2! Real quick story time 2. So when I first played this, I'll be honest, I did not like it. I thought it was too different from other Sonic games, and some of the stages looked ugly. And I overall thought the stages were not good, but I don't know if anyone knows the famous Sonic tuber, Fidel Games Cage, but I had watched his top 5 Sonic games video, and he had Sonic CD at his number 2 favorite Sonic game, which I thought was really weird, because I don't think up till that point point I had seen someone like that game so much. So one day I was bored in class and I decided to play the game again. And I don't know why, but this time it clicked. I didn't do the special stages at all. I explored the levels how the designers probably wanted me to, and I really enjoyed the game to the point where it's now my second favorite Sonic game. I really like the zones of the game except for that one. This was also the introduction of Metal Sonic, which Sonic Team refuses to do anything with. That's besides the point. This game has the beautiful intro and outro cinematics, which I could watch all day. But oh man, I honestly think this is the best Sonic OST by far. I love it so much that I bought the vinyl of it, and at the time, I didn't even have a record player. I personally am not a huge fan of the Bad Future songs, for the most part. Man, everything else in the soundtrack is S tier. Titled Tempest Present is one of the most relaxing songs I have ever heard, and so is Little Planet, which I don't think is actually used in the game, but it's a great song nonetheless. I think Cosmic Eternity is another amazing track, and I haven't even mentioned the good Future songs. Man, they're all so good. I feel like I'm in heaven every time I listen to them. I do think even if you aren't even slightly interested in playing Sonic CD, at least give the soundtrack a listen. It's amazing. My favorite zone in this game is a hard choice between Stardust Speedway and Tidal Tempest, but honestly, I'd give it the Tidal Tempest. I think it's a great water level. Surprisingly, the music is some of my favorite from the soundtrack, and the stage itself looks beautiful. I also really like how when the timer counts down, 3, 2, 1, you're about to drown, it doesn't have that panicky music like Sonic 2 does. It just stays the same, and it does not disrupt the beautiful music in any way. I love it. In conclusion, play Sonic CD if you have it. And if you have and don't like it, give it another chance. Please, 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 please. Honorable mention? Sonic Unleashed. I actually have not finished this one yet, but I wanted to give it a quick shout out because I am playing it off of friends because I do not have a good way to play this game. The most accessible version of this game for me is the PS3 version. And it's not the greatest way to play Sonic Unleashed, let's just say that. But if I enjoy the game as much as I am right now, I do think by the end of the journey, it very well could be in my top 3 Sonic games. I do think the daytime stages I've played so far are some of the best in the series. I love the harder requirements to get a better rank, and I actually do not mind the Werehog stages, surprisingly. I didn't like them at first, but I think if you just accept the fact that they're going to be pretty long and just play them, they're not horrible. In conclusion, where is Sonic Unleashed Ultimate? Huh, Sega? Give it to me. I need it. Number 1, Sonic Adventure 2. Where do I even start with this game? I know a decent amount of people out there prefer the more open nature approach that Sonic Adventure 1 has in terms of its Sonic stages, or how the spin dash functions in that game, and I agree with that. But man, I think I love every single stage in this game, regardless if it feels worse to control than SA1 does. I even like the mech stages in this game, which most people seem to dislike, but I found them to be really enjoyable. And the story is, in my opinion, the best Sonic story out there. It was the introduction of Shadow, it gave the side characters more to do with the story rather than them doing their own things during the main story, and that ending is so good, man, regardless of whether or not Shadow comes back in the next games to follow this one.
That's what I'm talking about. This shit means something to me, man.
The final boss is such a cool set piece too, man. I love that fight with Live and Learn blasting in the background. It sends chills up my spine playing it for the first time. The art in this game is so good too. I love the flow of the art with barely any edges on the drawings, and the colors look so good. The music is another aspect that I think is also amazing. From City Escape to Pumpkin Hill to Pyramid Cave, this soundtrack is S tier in my opinion. It's peak. I don't know if this is a hot take or not because I don't see anyone else really saying this, but I think the SA2 versions of It Doesn't Matter and Believe in Myself are better than the Sonic Adventure 1 versions. While the boss fights aren't anything too complex, I do think they're a step up compared to SA1's bosses, which for the most part were way too easy. I would say if you want to get into the Sonic series but don't know where to start, I'd say do it with this one or Sonic Adventure 1. But wait, I had said the same thing when it came to Sonic 1, so which one is it, huh? I'd still say start with Sonic 1. Just so you could get the kind of mega games out of the way and get to the really good stuff, just start with the first game. It's the first game in the series, get it out of the way, and maybe even go in release order. Unless you don't care about 2D Sonic, then yeah, start with SA1 or SA2, I'd say. If I had to choose one stage I like most in this game, I'd have to go with Green Forest. Not only is the boss before this one a pretty fun one, I like the race against time that's going on during the stage, and I really like the way the stage flows. I don't know why Sega has not released this game on the Switch already. Like, I already have the game twice, but release it on the Switch and I'd buy it in a heartbeat. What are you waiting for, Sega? Oh boy, we made it to the end, and man, I had a fun time making this video. Let me know your guys' ranking down below if you haven't already, and if I do actually end up making it through the other mainline Sonic games and making videos on them, I hope you guys will watch them and enjoy them. If you have any feedback, I would like it, so please drop it in the comments below. Anyway, my name is Scar, thank you for your time, and I'll see you in the next one.